Alrighty, artists, so let's talk a little bit more about how to add details to the left side of your face. We really right now have the outline, and a great way to think about this is how are we going to add value or shading in order to figure out where some of these shadows are on the face, okay? Before we even get there, though, we need to really focus on some minor details within each of the, eye, ear, nose, mouth, things like that. So one of the things I want you to focus on first is the actual eyebrow. So when we go in and do this with Sharpie, one of the things that people need to pay attention to is we have individual hair strands that make up eyebrows and eyelashes. So what we shouldn't be doing is drawing an eyebrow so thick like this as a shape. What we can do to get a little more realism is actually draw the individual hair strands in the direction that they fall on the face. This just really helps get a little bit more of a realistic look when you're working with the eyebrows in particular. Right? And don't get me wrong, some students have just gone in and added the shape, but then sometimes they go back and they're like, maybe that doesn't look as realistic as I would like it to. And sometimes what I do is use an eraser as a tool. If I feel like these got too dark, I can decide which ones to go back and erase. So all of our eyebrows look different. Pay attention to a picture, or you could even use a mirror to kind of pay attention to the direction of your eyebrow, the shape of your eyebrow. The other thing that sometimes students might struggle with is eyelashes. So you typically want to have the eyelid drawn in first before you do the eyelashes, because the eyelashes come afterwards, they overlap. So when we are looking at like my lashes, for example, in my picture, usually the eyelashes closer to the outside of your eye are longer and they get shorter as you go in. So I'm going to do, and they're not all the exact same height, you got to remember that too with eyelashes. Naturally, usually they're not the same exact height for all of them. And again, you'll notice that sometimes they get smaller and more sparse as you go in towards the inside of the eye, and shorter as you go in towards the inside of the eye as well. Now, what I'm also paying attention to is the thickness of things like my eyelid. Where my eyelashes are, there's some thick hair there, so we have some dark values in there. We can go in and make this line a little bit bolder to give it some of that realism. You'll also notice that there's kind of some skin here around the eyes that you got to pay attention to and add. It's not just the white of the eyes that are in there. And you also have little teeny lashes on the bottom of the eye as well. So you can go in and add those, very small on the bottom too. And the portrait only gets more realistic as you start to think about those details. Maybe you don't have bags under your eyes, but I do have a very little wrinkle under my eye. I might choose to add that very lightly if I want more realism, right? I'm going to pay attention to the shadows of my nose too. So you'll see there's a shadow on the left side of my nose here in my picture. So I might go in and just identify and thicken that line up where that shadow is. And then the nostril is dark on the inside, so just going in and filling that nostril really lightly, just to add a little bit of shading in there to make this more realistic. One of the most common mistakes that I see when drawing self-portraits is the nostrils are automatically like two large circles. No, you really have to pay attention to the actual shape of the nostril to get that realism and make this look realistic. I also have a little highlight on my nose in the picture, so I'm going to go back and erase that original line that I made. and draw in that little highlight where that is on my nose, just so I know to keep that lighter. I could even add a little symbol in there if I wanted to. It could be kind of fun. Maybe it could be another paint drop or something. I'm going to draw in where the bridge of my nose is, right? Adding a little bit of shading in through here, and that comes up below my eyebrow. The ear, when we're drawing the ear, I actually have a really nice handout here with a picture of the ear too that you can look at a little closer up. But you typically draw in that ridge of the ear first. So I can draw that in. I can include the shapes of my earrings if I wanted to. Some of you have earrings, some of you might not. And then the inside of my ear, I want to really mimic the shape that I see in the picture, or if I'm, looking in a mirror, what does that actually look like? And then we know that's dark in there, so I might just identify that so I remember that for later. And really just pay attention to the lines inside the ear too. Just like that. Alright, so ears looking pretty good. I'm going to go back to my eye here and focus on the iris, which is that colorful part of the eye, and draw that in. Kind of like two curved shapes. That doesn't quite create a circle because it goes underneath the eyelid. And then pay attention to the pupil inside of our eye with a little highlight. I'm going to add that white highlight that I see. Now, I might, for the iris, add kind of where some lines in here. And then I notice that for me I have hazel eyes, so this side of my eye is lighter. Might have a highlight there. Really focusing on those little minor details too. Lastly, we have the lips. Typically, if you look close, our lips are a little bit wrinkled, so I might draw some lines going straight up from the bottom of my lip to get more of that realism. Sometimes you have to play around with the shape of the lip before you really like it. Once I'm feeling good with all of those details, that is the point when you can start going in and tracing your lines with Sharpie. Same for the symbol side. Once you're done with all your symbols, now I am definitely not done yet. Once I'm done with all my symbols, then I can go in and add Sharpie to my self-portrait. And really just go over all of the lines that I've created. Like I said, the more details you add, the more this will start to really come together and look realistic for you. So all those little details, adding in the hair. Once you're done with that, you can actually go back and erase that original line that we made. All those guidelines we don't necessarily need once we're finished here. I can draw the shirt in here. Like if you have a jersey, I had some students that added their sports jerseys. If they were in sports, they went in and added their jersey. If there's a certain team that you like, maybe it's the Packers, maybe I could do a green and yellow jersey at the bottom with the little NFL logo. Totally up to you. Blackhawks jersey, if you have, some kind of necklace that might be important to you or something along those lines, you could add those as well. So again, this project is all about identifying who you are, so draw whatever you feel kind of helps express who you are as a person.